Welcome to the SOULFAM Podcast. On this week's episode, we have the very illuminated and enlightened Jonathan Troen. Jonathan has a self-love revolution underway currently. Jonathan is a speaker, an author, and leads us back to ourselves. Jonathan, can you tell us about what you're up to these days?
I can. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to both of you for having me here. And Diana, you guys don't know, but Diana and I know each other from way back when. So it's really beautiful to be reconnected with you. What am I doing now? Well, I spent 20 years in the entertainment business, and I was living the life of my dreams. I was interviewing and working with the biggest stars in the world. And I discovered one day that even after all of this and after all this amazing success, I wasn't happy. And I'm like, okay, what's wrong with me? I did everything they told me to do. Think of the life you want, then go out and create it. And here I created it. And I'm like, okay, well, what's wrong with me? Why am I not happy now? So I quit the business and I went on this journey to find out what was wrong with me. And while doing that, I discovered two huge things. One is I wasn't alone. There in the middle of Hollywood were all these people in this land of dreams, all these people that looked like they were successful on paper that weren't happy. And of course, some of them we've read their names in the paper because they've taken their lives or overdosed on drugs, so accidentally taken their lives. I wasn't alone. The second thing I figured out was that there was nothing wrong with me. And I was like, what? You got to be kidding. There's nothing wrong with me. This was a true shock to me because my whole life, I worked so hard to try and be like that person over there who was doing better than I was, right? In school, they were better at sports or cooler than I was, right? So I was always looking to be somebody different. And when I discovered that I could just be me, and it's not what they teach us in the marketing commercials either that we see every day. That was just whoa, really? And to be clear, it took me a while to get used to that and to really begin liking myself and eventually loving myself. We call this the self-love revolution, but it's not necessarily overnight. And once I discovered it for me, I just had to start sharing this with everyone else because everyone is comparing themselves to other people. And there's so much stress and anxiety around, and it starts at such a young age. And I am on a mission now to turn this around so we all can become our own best friends.
I want to add that Jonathan was one of the best producers I ever worked with. You were so conscientious and aware and very responsible. It's so interesting to hear the flip on how you actually felt about yourself at the time, because no one would have ever known that.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I call myself an abuser. I was an abuser, except not to anybody outside of me, right? So people like you, people that we know in common, people that I met, they would look at Jonathan and go, oh, Jonathan, he's such a nice guy. But I was so mean to myself. I was a huge bully to myself. And even after amazing days where maybe I did an amazing interview or put together an amazing show, I would still look at myself in the mirror at night and review everything that went wrong. Like maybe I forgot to ask a question or I slurred some words because, I have this, I'm from Boston in the Northeast and we talk really fast and we slur our words together. I'm like, oh, you didn't say that clearly enough. Yeah, even if everything went great, I'd pick out all the little details that went wrong. And that's how I'd go to sleep at night, right? After beating myself up and then, oh man, I have to get out of bed, really? Again? So I'd get out of bed and I'd start another day. I'd review it at the end of the day. I'd beat myself up. And this just went on and on and on. And if I've changed anything in my life, it's this habit, right? Our lives are simply made up of our daily habits. If you don't know what habits you have, or you don't think you have habits, trust me, you have habits. You might not know what they are. So begin to look at your habits. The biggest habit that I changed was I still look in the mirror every night, right? I go home, brush my teeth, and I look in the mirror and I still review my day. I just do it completely differently. I pick out all the successes. Hey, you had this great talk today with Lexi and Diana. Hey, you were a really good dad today. Hey, you impacted that person. And I look at all the things that I did well. If something didn't go well, I don't sweep it under the rug. I acknowledge it and I go, okay, that didn't go well. Maybe I practice some forgiveness if forgiveness is needed, right? Maybe I said something that I wish I hadn't said. So I'll practice some forgiveness, or I'll say, okay, that didn't go well. Can you do something better tomorrow? Can you learn from this? But the main focus is all on the great things that happened. And then I go to bed like that. And then I wake up the next morning all excited to have another great day, impacting people, helping people change their lives. Because, hey, everyone, you know why you're here? To help other people. Right? The purpose of the self-love revolution, yes, it's so you can like yourself better. But the reason of liking yourself better is because you can help others more powerfully, because you're not afraid anymore. When you show up not afraid, you can just help others. And yes, that's why you're here on this planet, to help others. So love yourself, love others, and man, it's just a much better way to live.
So can we talk about the eclipse right now just for a second? Because that's something that just came up in our pre-interview conversation. So what's going on with this eclipse?
Well, April 8th is the eclipse. It's a full eclipse if you're in the right part of the country, which I am happy to say I am in the right part of the country. I have never seen a total eclipse of the sun before. Now that song's in my head, right? Never seen one. There are the places here in Travis County, which is Austin, and the surrounding counties, Bell County, all these counties here, they're all declaring a state of emergency because so many people are coming here to watch the eclipse, because there won't be another one like this in 45 years, something like that. Don't quote me on 45 years, but 40 something years. So it's really cool. I mean, I guess I don't really know because I've never experienced it, but when you hear people talk about their experience, those who have experienced a total eclipse, they all say it does something to your system. So I'm just curious now. I have to be honest. I had no idea about this. And a friend from Los Angeles, who I also know from the entertainment business, although we knew each other before that, but we both were in the entertainment business together. She calls me up and says, hey, I'm coming to Austin for the eclipse. And I'm like, what eclipse? What are you talking about? And she was getting hotels and everything. I'm like, why are you getting hotels? You're staying with me. So she and her family are coming here now for the eclipse. And I'm like, well, if it's important enough for people to travel across the country, and apparently millions of people are coming here, then I ought to find out more about it. And then once I started looking into it, I'm like, whoa, this is going to be big and it's going to be cool. So I'm pretty excited.
Interesting. So I'm curious, Jonathan, do you feel like that has anything to do with what's happening within us DNA-wise? Do you feel like there's anything that's being activated within us as humans related to the planet, or related to some of these sort of astronomy, astrology related things?
So I can't say I'm smart enough to know that. But when it comes to the DNA being changed, and I know I'm kind of switching the subject a little bit, but I think it's important, daily events change our DNA. And when I first learned about this, it was woo-woo. I learned this, it was a meditation talk about how, and they didn't call it DNA. They said, when you have a traumatic event, they said it forms knots in your body. And you ever say, I have knots in my stomach, right? That's a terminology that we use. So, from thousands of years, they've been talking about these knots. And then in this talk, they spoke about how through meditation, these knots can untie the traumas, and these traumas are passed down from generation. So if your parents had a difficulty, or your grandparents or their parents lived through a war, something like that, then that knot is passed on to you. Now that was woo woo as can be until they put a bunch of rats in a lab and proved it. And now it's science. Now, I don't really love animal studies, to be clear. Not happy what they did to the rats. But that said, we now know that, and you can call it knots, but our DNA is changed when we undergo a trauma. Now, what they haven't proven yet, although the same teachings teach us the same thing. So I'm inclined to go, well, if they were right about that, they could be right about this. We just don't know how to track it yet. If we practice some form of meditation, mindfulness, those knots untie in us, and they untie in our offspring, even if they are already born. I find that fascinating. One day, I suspect they'll prove that in Western medicine, just like they proved the other part of it. So that's to say, we have to pay attention to what's happening in our daily lives. And that includes the eclipse. And it may be doing amazing things. I just don't know what they are. But in terms of our DNA changing, there is so much stress right now, anxiety right now. Like, that is the epidemic of our time. I mean, you guys are in Hollywood. You guys see, I mean, half the city is out of work. I have a lot of friends who are still in the business. They are out of work, and they're selling their homes. People are under so much stress, and it's not just the entertainment business. It's all kinds of businesses. AI, I just saw a company the other day laid off 90% of its workforce because they're replacing it with AI. And we're just at the beginnings of AI, folks. We don't even know how to use the stuff. And that's causing difficulty for a lot of people. And this is what we have to look at and address. And my way of looking at it is through the tool and the tools, because there are a variety of tools that are in it. This tool, and I would call it a skill. It's a skill. I call it a skill because it can be practiced. When you get practice, you get better. So this skill of self-love and self-compassion can help us work through all these events that are going on around us.
So you've broken this all down. Is that correct?
It works for me. I broke it all down. It worked for me. Look, and I'll be totally honest. Nothing I share or teach hasn't been around for thousands of years. I didn't make any of it up. I use some different words here and there, maybe just because I understand different words. Everything's thousands of years old. But when I went on that journey I mentioned, trying to figure out what was wrong with me, I was going to a lot of different sources, so I went to the Tony Robbins School of Massive Action. And I'm not saying that glibly. Tony Robbins is amazing. He's powerful. I still use his tools. So there was Tony Robbins spoke about this massive action. I learned, The Secret was coming out. So, I learned from Bob Proctor and some of the forgotten laws. And then there was Louise Hay. She's the godmother of self-love. And she said, look in a mirror and say, I love you. So I listened to that and go, oh, I can do that. Right. So I go to the mirror, walk into the bathroom after the first time I hear her say that. And I look in the mirror. This is exactly how it went. I go, Jonathan. Now that was not any garble coming across. The microphones are working fine. I couldn't say the words. I curled up into a ball and fell on the floor like a truck had hit me. I had no idea what just happened. That was my first inkling that I didn't love myself. If you would have asked me the day before, even an hour before, I would have said, of course, why wouldn't I like myself or love myself? Of course I do. But at that moment, I realized that something was going on, and it's based on our subconscious programming, and we can get into that. But to go back to what I was talking about, and then I found forgiveness. And that was the missing ingredient to me. Once I began to practice, I won't really say master because it's all a work in progress, but get good at forgiveness and a forgiveness practice. I have a daily forgiveness practice. Then self-love began to fall into place. But they were still, Tony Robbins here and Louise Hay here. And then I wish I could give the forgiveness guy credit, but I don't remember who I sometimes you just learn something amazing off a video you see. And I'm like, whoa, that's it. So everything was in these disparate places. And I had to go, pause. I can't do this. I can't go to all these different teachers. I put it together in a way that I could understand it. Right. And I started practicing it every single day. I practice these pillars, what I call the pillars of self-love. I practice them every day. And once I started doing that, I said, I got to start teaching this for others, which is a little bit of a lie. So I can tell the real thing, but I've been talking a lot. So I'll take a pause here and I can go into that part if you want.
Wait, it's a lie? No, it can't be.
It's sort of a lie. What first started happening, I'd already been coaching people and was having some decent success. So then I started putting some of these tools into my coaching, but I never called it self-love because, well, that sounds kind of wimpy. I mean, come on, I'm a white male, right?
Producer.
Right?
From
yeah.
Boston.
From the rock and roll world. I spent years in the punk rock bars, self-love. I mean, if the 20-year-old knew what I was doing today, he would laugh at me and spit in my face. So I didn't use the words because they were scary to me. I was a success coach. I could help lead you to your success. And then I have a yoga studio here in Austin, Texas, my wife and I. It's called Austin Yoga Tree. And I did coaching there at the time. And every month I'd have a group coaching. And I remember it really clearly because it was in January. In January, there are twice as many people in yoga studios and in coaching classes than the rest of the year. So it was in January. And I went around the room like I was doing every time. And I said, yeah, what's a goal that you haven't achieved, or what's a difficulty you're going through that this process could be helpful with? No, it's just a question I always asked to open it up. We went around the group, and then I would always look for a commonality, and that would lead the discussion for the day. And over half the people that day said some version of, I need to learn how to like myself. I need to learn how to love myself. I need to stop beating myself up. I need to learn how to be friendlier with myself. Their words, not mine. And I'm like, okay, universe, I hear you. Okay. Thank you. I hear you. You gave me some hints before. I wasn't taking the hints apparently. So that started banging me over the head. And I spent the next year developing the self-love revolution, the blueprint for it, the course, all the elements. And it was the next January where we launched the first Self-Love Revolution Masterclass. So I was forced into it, Lexi.
I love it. I'm just trying to think, because I was never at E as a producer. Did we say that you worked at E? Do you want Diana to cut that out?
You can say that. I don't care. It's a part of my, I don't deny any of my history anymore. There was a time I may have. I love my history. Maybe not every piece of it, right? Yes, if there were things I would do, everyone says there's nothing you would do over because it made you who you are today. There are things where if I were in that position with the knowledge I have today, I might do it over. But I accept it all. I've forgiven all parts of me, or at least if I haven't fully yet, I'm in a process. I love all parts of me. And again, maybe it's a process. So yeah, bring it on. I learned tons from that experience.
I mean, it's interesting because just from being behind a desk and pitching on-camera talent and that kind of thing, if I had, 15 years ago, just had a vision of speaking with a former E producer about consciousness and self-love and all of this, like, it's almost impossible to believe, because I don't know if that people with trauma are just inherently attracted to the entertainment business. We come here to prove something or to feel better or to, make our mark in the world and prove that we matter and be seen or something like that. So it's just, I'm wondering when the transition happened. Was it during COVID? Like how are we like okay now? How did we get past like the scary weird part where nobody cares about you? How did you make that transition?
Let me take it a step back. I remember the day that I chose to go into the entertainment world, at that time the radio world. And I was in junior high and I was having a bad day at school. I was the picked on one, right? But to be clear, bullies and the victims have the same problem. They don't feel good enough about ourselves. Bullies take it out on other people. Victims, crawl into their own shell. If we taught self-love, or at least some version of emotional intelligence as science, not this social emotional learning, which I think is horrible. It should be taught as science. Dopamine, serotonin, what are these chemicals doing in the brain? Cortisol. We should be teaching this as science so we know what's happening in our bodies. That's another rant. I can rant more later if you want. At any rate, so there I was, this bad day at school, and I go home and I turn on the radio, and the DJ says something, and he plays a song, and I had a smile on my face. And I go, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. I want to put a smile on people's faces. So I worked at radio. I worked at the #1 radio station in Boston. I moved to Denmark, and I worked in radio in Denmark. I found my way into LA. I had already had a lot of friends that had moved to LA before me. So they said, come out here. We got great stuff going on in the entertainment business. And I said, okay, sure. So after I left Europe, I moved to LA and I started this journey, which you guys know, because you guys have done some of the same in this entertainment world. And here's what changed is I started climbing the entertainment ladder. So you're an associate producer and then a producer and then a supervising producer. And so I was chasing titles and I was chasing more money. And I was single at the time too. So it was great. You went to a party and you're single. Hey, what do you do? Oh, I'm producing an entertainment show. Hey, it turned into a great date. It was a great story for a single guy in Hollywood. But at the end of the day, it was not fulfilling inside. And, I got to tell you, beating up Britney Spears for her just trying to be a normal human being, like all I want to do is give Britney Spears a hug. If I could talk to Britney Spears, one, I would apologize for any show that I participated in, which made fun of what she was going through. And her name came to my head. But this is for everybody we made fun of. Like we made a business of tearing people apart. And I didn't know it because I forgot about this whole idea of putting a smile on people's faces. And I thought maybe I was, because it was the entertainment business after all. Weren't we entertaining people? But man, I was just ripped apart inside. And I could not spend another day tearing another human being apart. So I left. And that's when I went on that journey. What's wrong with me? I figured it out. I couldn't figure it out. And I'm looking around and everyone seemed to be normal, right? Diana's having a good time. Our mutual friend at the time, Keith, may he rest in peace. Love you, Keith. Thank you. Thank you for bringing Diana and me together. He was killing it. Like, what's wrong with me? Come to find out, nobody was killing it. Everybody wanted something different. Now that's a hyperbole, not everybody. And I'll be clear also, if I had more confidence in myself, I may have been able to knock on the doors and really focus on shows that I wanted to make that are doing good in the world. There are a lot of shows that are doing great things in the world. There are a lot of great people in the entertainment business. Great things are being made. I did not have enough self-confidence to do that. So I did what they paid me to do. Some shows I cringed at watching, but I was taught if someone's going to pay you, you take their money so you can pay the rent. And I did that until I couldn't do it anymore because it was just eating me up inside. So I left. And it was only after I left that I figured it all out. Now, to be clear, if I had known then what I know now, I could have stayed in the business, producing great things. I wouldn't have done things that were against my values. I produced shows that were against my values. I didn't even know I had values. Now I know I have values. I was taught about them. I went to a course. They taught me about my values. I had them since I was a kid. I just didn't know what they were. And if you talk to people, most people don't know what their real values are, their personal values. And it's as simple as this, folks. Living a life honoring your values is a fulfilling life. Living a life not honoring your values is an unfulfilling life. Just write that down. Living a life honoring your values is a fulfilling life. Living a life not honoring your values is an unfulfilling life. Most of us are living a life honoring other people's values. Our parents, our teachers, and the marketers. Buy the new iPhone, you'll be happy. Buy the new car, you'll be happy. Get the new and bigger house, you'll be happy. I did all of it. Had the new phone, had the new car, had the new girlfriend, lived 3 blocks from the beach, saw the sunset out my window. But man, it sucked. Because you know why it sucked? Because I was 3 blocks from the beach. I could have my feet in the water in 10 minutes. But you know what happened while I was walking to the beach? I was on 3rd Street. So I walked past 2nd Street. And I walked past Ocean. And then I walked down the stairs to the houses that were on the beach. And every time I walked by those houses, I would say, well, when I'm in one of those places, then I can be happy. Because they were obviously doing better than I was. They didn't have any buildings between them and the sunset. Every time I set a goal and I succeeded at it, I'm not going to say I succeeded at every goal, but I succeeded at a lot of them. Every time I succeeded in a goal, I was happy for a moment. And then it was like, okay, well, I'm still not in this blissful state, so I have to make another goal. And I made another goal. And then I would get that goal. And then I still wasn't happy. And then I make another goal. And I still wasn't happy. And that's what we do. We spend our lives postponing happiness. We will be happy when? We have this equation. And if you saw that talk, and Lexi, you mentioned it, right? It's in that talk. This is the equation we've been given. Work hard. If you work hard for long enough, you will be successful. And if you're successful for long enough, then you'll be happy. We postpone happiness for years and decades. So some people don't get successful. But a lot of people do. They get successful. They climb that ladder. They're making the money, but they're still empty inside. That, by the way, is the definition of the midlife crisis. You've done everything you've been told. You got successful. You got your 6-7 figures, but you're still not happy. Now you're trying to figure out what went wrong. This is the equation to life, folks. Be happy now. When you're happy, you are successful. Because isn't that why you're working so hard in the first place? And when you're happy and successful, it is so much easier to show up and do the hard work that you are here on this planet to do, which again, call back to what I said before, to help other people. So how do we become happy now? And by the way, it does not mean there's no sadness in your life. There is. It does not mean there's no pain. There is. I would not wish a life without sadness and pain on anyone. We are all of our emotions. But the pathway to happiness is through self-love, self-compassion. I don't have to rely. I hope you guys like me at the end of this. I do. I hope Diana, we're now reconnected and we'll talk like we used to. And Lexi, I hope we form a new connection. But if you don't, I'm okay, because my self-worth is not based anymore. It was anymore on what you guys think of me. And especially whether you'll hire me or not, right? Which it was for years. If someone hires me, I'm worthy. If someone doesn't hire me, I'm not worthy. It was as simple as that. Now it comes from inside. And that's what we need to learn, we need to practice, and we need to teach our children.
Were you always connected to spirituality and consciousness in a way at your core? I mean, I know we've talked a little bit about values, and I'm going to circle back to that. But in your heart of hearts, did you feel this sense of connectedness with the rest of the world in a way that maybe you didn't experience in your sort of career life?
No, nothing.
Really?
I was a raging punk rocker because the world was messed up around me. I didn't fit in anywhere. So I heard the Ramones one day and it changed my life. I go, there are misfits in the world. This is great. I'm a misfit. But here's the deal too. I didn't have tattoos. I didn't wear a mohawk. I didn't dress the punk rocker facade. I didn't fit in there either. I didn't fit in anywhere. And I was desperate to fit in. Now, to be clear, fitting in is not belonging, right? Fitting in means that we will honor someone else's values so they like us. Hence, I did all these TV shows that I thought were horrible. I can't even believe they aired some of them. But I fit in, and I'd go to these parties in Hollywood, and I'd be cool, right? But it was against my values. Belonging. Say that again.
I said you had a leather jacket. You're fine.
But it wasn't the cool leather jacket. But I did. It's true. I had a leather jacket. Belonging is honoring your values. Now, if you fit in, if you go the fitting in route, then you're guaranteed to have a miserable life because you're not honoring your values. Belonging, it's 50-50 that you'll be accepted and you won't. You might have difficulty. They might not accept you with your values. It's true. And they might. And if they do, that's great. Now you have belonging. You feel that sense of connectedness, and it's beautiful. And if they don't, that kind of sucks and it hurts. And that's when we have to really double down on our own self-compassion and then find the groups where we do belong, or create our own group and invite the like-minded people into it. It's really powerful. I went into the spiritual world kicking and screaming, I would say. I did start practicing yoga. This was due to an injury. I had a surgery that had complications. I did a year of physical therapy. And after a year of physical therapy, insurance kicked me off. And they said, well, go try yoga and maybe that'll help you. I'm like, yoga? That sounds weird. But okay. I wanted to move my arm again. And the doctors weren't going to help me. So I tried this yoga thing. And I noticed that I was becoming calmer. So I'd be driving down the road and somebody would cut me off and I wouldn't do anything. And that was really odd because I'm from Boston, and not only do we have road rage, we're proud of it. Like, I got more road rage than you. You're going to cut me off. I'm going to go race around you. You can't cut me off. We're very proud of that. And there I was, cars cutting me off in the Los Angeles freeways. And I'm like, no big deal. At work, somebody would piss me off and I'd be like, no big deal. And then I didn't do yoga for a couple of weeks. And I got all, again, like, what the hell's going on? How can you do that? How can you be so stupid and do that? Come on, what's wrong with you? So I go, oh, that's weird. So I went back to doing some yoga. People would make mistakes, wouldn't bother me. People would cut me off, wouldn't bother me. I'm going, there's something to this. And then it just evolved. And even that, I didn't know it was spirituality, but I think it was. It was an understanding. It opened the door to the understanding that we're all actually connected. It's like I often share this. So a car cuts you off, you get really pissed off, right? But how many times have you cut a car off? Intentionally because you're late, or by accident because you didn't see them. And then they're beeping at us and we're like, hey, what's wrong with you? Excuse me, We're all on both sides of the equation all the time. But we get pissed off. If they cut us off, we're pissed off. If we're the one that cuts them off and they get mad at us, we're pissed off at them. So the other person is always wrong. So this is the understanding that, hey, sometimes they're wrong, sometimes we're wrong, and it doesn't matter. We're just all connected. And how can I make your day just a little better? Like, what if we went around the world? What if we treated the planet like it was church? In church, no one swears and everyone's on their best behavior. And, oh, please go in front of me. Everyone's kind. What if we treated the planet like it was a church and just worked as hard as we could to be kind, not even to everyone, to the person next to us? Wouldn't that be a different world to live in? So the truth is, whether I like it or not, whether I want to be spiritual or not, we're all connected. What you do affects me. What I do affects you. So let's just do it with more kindness.
Tell us what your pillars are. Are there 4 pillars in the self?
There are 4 pillars of self-love. Now, to be clear, each of these is a 2-hour class on its own. And when I do the 2-hour classes, I tell them, this should really be a year-long class in just this one pillar, right? So there's a lot that can go into these. But the first pillar is acceptance. And acceptance is normally taught, in my belief. By the way, I'm just telling you my beliefs. You can take it or leave it. But acceptance, in my belief, is taught wrong. And it didn't work for me the way I was taught. Acceptance is normally taught, hey, if it's happening now, accept it as it is. And so, okay, well, there are homeless people down the street. I accept it. But my body would clam up when I would think of accepting it because I didn't like it, right? Or maybe it's a relationship. Okay, the relationship, I have to accept this relationship as it is, or accept this job as it is, whatever it is, accept my bank account as it is. But if we really don't like it, it's hard to accept it. So I came across this other teaching, which I'd never seen before. And in years of law of attraction work and acceptance work, I'd never seen this before. And it's the 2 sides of acceptance. And I call it complete acceptance. And the 2 sides of acceptance is accepting what is and accepting the fact that you want it to be different. So it's not that it's okay. It's not I accept it and it's okay. I accept that it is right now because that is reality. It is. My bank account is. There are homeless people. And I can accept the fact that I want it to be different. That changed everything for me. And to be clear, you're not accepting the story of homeless people, of your bank account, of your relationship, of your job, of any of it, of the plane being late. You're accepting the sensation it creates in your body. The answers are in your body. When you begin to get comfortable with uncomfortable sensations, your life will change. We've been told, don't be sad, don't be angry, don't be afraid. These are the mantras of our teaching. They're the mantras of our society. When we say those things, we're saying don't feel and don't be human, because we can't point to a single person on the planet that doesn't feel those emotions. in order not to feel these emotions, because we don't want to accept them, we turn to drugs and alcohol, gambling, sex, shopping, TV. Now, none of those things are bad in and of themselves, but when they are to replace a physical sensation you're feeling, they turn into addictions. Because the physical sensations won't go away until you begin to accept them and accept that it's there. Oh, I'm having an argument with this very dear person in my life. I'm angry. There's anger inside of me. I'm going to accept that there's anger inside of me and accept that I want it to be different. And when we do that, we immediately stop fighting with ourselves. And that's the first step to this world of self-love, is stop fighting with yourself. So again, I could go on for another couple hours on just that, and I'm happy to answer any questions, but I'll go through the pillars just so you have an idea of what they are. Pillar number 2 is gratitude. And I know it's kind of woo, gratitude again. Everyone talks gratitude, but here's the bottom line. It's cliche because it's true. Because if you think you're going to live a life of joy without gratitude, you are sorely mistaken. Gratitude is a practice, and gratitude is a feeling in your body. You have to feel gratitude in your body every single day. We have about, depending on the study, between 50,000 and 90,000 thoughts a day. 95% of those thoughts are the same thoughts you had yesterday. And 80% of those thoughts are negative. We're complaining about something. The weather. Mostly about stuff we can't control, right? If you're complaining about something you can control, great. Go do something about it. Go take some action. Complaining is not bad, but go take action. Complaining about things you can't do anything about, well, that's just a waste of energy. So we need to flip the equation where 80% of our thoughts are positive and 20% are negative. I'm not saying never have a negative thought. They keep us going. We need to change things. Things can be better. But we've evolved to search for the negative. What's bad? We need to reprogram our subconscious belief system, our neural pathways, to look for things that are good in our lives. And a gratitude practice does just that. It also releases dopamine into our system. You know what else releases dopamine? Scrolling Facebook, checking email. In fact, they're designed to give you dopamine hits so you stay on the platform longer. Now, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. I'm not saying don't do any of that. But you want a quick jolt of your dopamine? Write a gratitude list. Then you don't need to go to Facebook. It can actually be productive with your day. So complete acceptance, not acceptance, complete acceptance and gratitude. Pillar number 3. This was the hardest for me. I call this the number 1 skill we've never been taught. And that's the skill of forgiveness. Let's define forgiveness. This is the definition I use for forgiveness. I didn't make it up. Forgiveness is giving up hope that the past can be different. Okay? If you're watching, listening, write that down. Forgiveness is giving up hope that the past can be different. Because we spend weeks, months, years, decades replaying a story in our head that says, if only that were different, my life would be different today. Right? You guys ever do that? You run that story in your head. It happened years ago. And you're like, if that were different, life would be different today. Yeah. Thinking a story different doesn't make it different. It is true. If it would have happened differently, your life would be different today. I don't know how it would be different, but I guarantee it would be different. And maybe you're right. Maybe it would be so much better. But thinking it different doesn't make it different. So we have to practice forgiveness. Forgiveness of others who have wronged us. Ask forgiveness from others who you have wronged. And the most difficult, I find, is forgiving ourselves for the things we did that we regret and for the things that we didn't do that we wish we had done. And when we can practice self-forgiveness, that it unchains us from living in the past and opens the door to create a new future, a future that we actually want to exist in. We start creating it now. Also, when we practice self-forgiveness, it allows us to forgive others more easily because we realize we all just screw up all the time. Every day we screw up. All of us. There's a longer forgiveness meditation that I have, and if anybody wants it, reach out to me. I'll share it with you. You guys can, I'll give it to you guys. You guys can share it if you want. Definitely. But and that's the one, you need that to deal with the stuff that's from last year, last decade, that's deep-seated. But every day we hold on to new things. So I'm going to give you this right now. 30 seconds. You say it every single day. In the past 5 years, this is the biggest change to my life, is this daily forgiveness practice. And this is what I say every night before I go to bed. I forgive myself and anyone else who has hurt or offended me, knowingly or unknowingly, because half the time they don't even know they did. Emotionally, physically, or monetarily. Sorry, let me turn that off. I forgive myself and anyone else who has hurt or offended me, knowingly or unknowingly, emotionally, physically, or monetarily. I wish them no harm. I accept this moment as it is, and I release myself from any future pain. I say this every single day. So that way, whatever happened today, I don't have to bring into tomorrow, and I don't have to replay for the next 10 years.
Jonathan,
we need to start. Say it again.
I'm sorry. There's one word you included in that forgiveness mantra that I have not heard before. And you mentioned monetarily. Is that significant?
Yeah. We get pissed at people all the time because they didn't get money in our pocket, or they took relationships. So the broken relationship or the divorce, they're about kids and money. That's it. Right? And if you don't have kids, then it's all about money. Right? The boss that, or potential employer that didn't give you the job, right? Or that fired you, laid you off. Sometimes not their fault. Sometimes they really just had to. Sometimes they're just horrible people. But yet still, we have to forgive. Even the horrible people, we have to forgive. You know what? The horrible people, here's what you need to know about horrible people. They're just scared and insecure inside. That's it. They're just scared and insecure and need compassion and self-compassion. It doesn't make what they're doing okay. Okay? Let's be clear. Does not make what they're doing okay. We can work to change it. We have a judicial system. It can still function. But it's beneficial for us to understand why people are doing and acting as they are. And money is a part of it because our society is based on money. Someone else gets a job instead of you. You're both up for it. Especially when they're a friend, right? Your friend got the producer job over you. And man, that part of you so wants to wish them well. But you're just so pissed off that they got the job and you didn't. And of course, you're better than they are anyway. Or if they are better than you, right? Because maybe they've been doing it for longer. Man, I suck because I'm not as good as they are, right? It's one of those two stories. Yeah, we get bent out of shape all the time about money.
It's a good thing to bring up, especially because there's a lot of focus on manifestation right now, and obviously our monetary system is changing very quickly. So I appreciate that you're bringing that up because that's not always a comfortable thing to talk about.
Yeah. So I'll throw this out before we get to the fourth pillar for all the manifestors out there. Now, manifesting is it's a step on the journey. If you're manifesting, love you, God bless you, love it, keep doing it. And know that it's not the final step. And you can choose how long you want to go on with manifesting. When you manifest, you can create things, right? Think it, feel it, because that's where the disconnect is. Think it and you can have it? No. Think it, feel it so you believe it. When you believe it, then you can make it a reality. And you can manifest anything you think and believe. However, if you limit yourself to manifesting, you are turning away all the amazing things that this universe wants to give you that you cannot yet conceive in your head. So I want to plant the seed of surrender. Beyond manifesting is surrender. The law of surrender. It's one of the laws of the universe. And when you surrender to what the universe is offering you, even when it seems icky, right? Because sometimes you got to go through the ick to get to the beautiful. When you surrender to what the universe is offering you, magical things happen. Magical things happen that you could not conceive of on your own. Now, I want to be clear because there's this spiritual journey that happens. And I witnessed it in me, and I witness it all the time. We start off and there's not a lot of spirituality. I mean, some people have it really young, but for a lot of us, we're working and doing our lives and trying to reach the American dream. You can't reach the American dream. You can only experience it now. So if you're in another country, love to all, right? Then we begin to get this idea of spirituality. And then we look at everyone else who isn't living the spiritual life as less than, because they don't know what we know, and they're not living the spiritual life like I am. And then you get past there and you realize, oh, we're just all the same. Like, come on. And to be clear, I noticed this in the entertainment business. There were newer bands that I would interview who would be, do you guys swear on this show?
Oh, yeah. We encourage it.
They would just be fucking assholes. And I'm not going to mention names for that now, but it's like, seriously, like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I'm just an interviewer trying to ask you some fun questions, but they were cooler than cool. And then two interviews really stand out to me. And those, one was with Tony Bennett and one was with Cher. And the reasons and there was another one, James Taylor also was like this. Now, these are people that have been around a long, long time. Certainly every question had already been asked of them. Like, how I was known to be a pretty good interviewer. I'd ask different kinds of questions. I had a good reputation for interviewing people. It's one of the things that I think makes me a really good coach for people too. I ask the right questions. But come on, Tony Bennett, Cher, how are you going to ask them anything different? They were so kind. They answered every question as if it was the first time they had ever been asked the question. Tony Bennett, like an hour later, sees us backstage and he's like, "Hey, Jonathan. Hey, Chris." I was with my partner at the time, Chris. Like, he's remembering our names. Like, what's he remembering our names for? He's never going to see us again. Because they got to the point where they realized that we're all the same. So this happens in the spiritual journey too. So whatever point you're on the spiritual journey, I honor it. You're just beginning, you're manifesting, you're surrendering, you're into the full, we're all oneness. We're all just individual cells in this this big being that we don't know what it is. Hey, all good. And just know that there are different parts of even this spiritual journey. There's not really an end to it. That was a scary thought to me too when I first found that out. I remember finding that out. That's a whole nother story, which I can share. But I should get to the first pillar. Should we get to the fourth pillar? Should we get to the fourth pillar? The fourth pillar is self-love. That's it. It's being your friend. It's treating yourself like you are your friend. And to be there, if self-love is hard, start with self-compassion, start with self-friendliness. And here's how it works. If a friend came to you and something bad happened at work, or they made some really stupid mistake, and it really was, I said it really was, what would you say to them if they came knocking on your door? You would invite them in, you'd sit them on the couch, offer them a cup of tea and say, I have your back. Yeah, this is really hard to go through. I'm here for you. Maybe I can't fix it, but I'm here for you. What do we say to ourselves in the same situation? You are so stupid. I can't believe you did that again. Do you guys ever talk to yourself like this? Was it just me? We need to start saying the same thing to ourselves. Hey, Jonathan. Okay, well, that was kind of dumb, but I got your back. Or, okay, that didn't work out. You tried really hard and it didn't work out, but I got your back. We need to start treating ourselves as a friend. When I used to look in the mirror, I would look at my face and tear it apart. There's a wrinkle. There's a gray hair. You're so ugly. That's why you don't have a relationship that you like. I would tear myself apart. Now, I look in the mirror and I just say good things to myself. I see another wrinkle. I say, hey, welcome to the family. Gray hair. Now, look, to be clear, sometimes there's still there's more. This wrinkle here is kind of new. So and then I remember, no, welcome to the family. Jonathan, I love you and I accept you just as you are. And for those that are starting out this journey, I want to be so clear. This was not overnight, right? When I first tried, I couldn't even say it. It was so hard. I didn't even try it again for a month. And then I said, I got to try this again. And it was still hard. Now, any mirror, it's become so much a habit. I can look at any mirror in the world. And if I see my face, I say something kind. I say, hey, Jonathan, what's up? Looking good. It's simply become a habit to me. I want to challenge you all to do this. If you do nothing else, do this. Say one kind thing to yourself every day. Just one. And it can be about the way you look, about something you've done. One kind thing to yourself every day. You know, we only talk about our knees when we walk upstairs and our knee hurts. We only talk about our necks, if we wake up and we have a sore neck or something's going on. But how often do we go, hey, knees, you know what? Thank you just for functioning. Every day you have supported me in my life. And I know it's a little sore now, and I know I haven't treated you as well as I could. Thank you for carrying me every day. Neck, thank you for still being able to turn your head. Hey, it hurts a little bit, especially if I turn this way, but hey, thank you. I've had a ringing in my ears since Deep Purple, now I'm really dating myself, since Deep Purple 1985. At that concert. That's when the ringing started and never went away. And I used to be pissed at my ears because they had this ringing. But you know what? The ringing is still there. And I can still hear. I can hear you guys as we talk. I can hear students in my classroom. I hear my voice. I can go to movies. I hear the TV. I normally watch it with subtitles, but that if you're watching TV with subtitles, just to be clear, it's not just you. Search the internet. There are stories. They mix shows differently today than they used to. It is true. It's not just you. Anyway, that's just my little rant about how they mix audio differently in the entertainment world. Go back to the old mixes so we can hear stuff, but I can hear. So I'm grateful to my ears with this daily ringing just because they still function. Most of us complain about any little thing that's wrong. And we need to start celebrating every little thing that's right. When you can celebrate the mundane, because most days are just mundane, right? Most days aren't amazing things happen and horrible things happen. Most days are most days. When you can find joy and celebrate the mundane, you can have an amazing life. And when you can celebrate the joy of others, remember we spoke about that person getting a job? When you can celebrate that person's success and feel it, whoa. Now you have a magnificent life because you're surrendering to what the universe is offering you, because you got something better around the corner if you will open yourself up to it. And saying one kind thing to yourself for every single day will begin to open that door. So those are the 4 pillars: complete acceptance, gratitude, forgiveness, and self-love, or self-compassion, or at least self-friendliness.
Okay. I feel like I've been to church.
You're not the first one to say that to me. I love that. How do I turn this into a church?
Nonprofit paperwork? What is it? 5?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you have already changed this into a church, Jonathan. There's something about your sense of spirit that keeps running through. And I know, that was something that's not necessarily akin to you or that you're super conscious of, but there's some vibration that comes through you, Jonathan, that feels a lot like a concert. It feels a lot like, wow, we have just been uplifted. So there's something about...
Well, what I learned was it was always there. I was covering it up with everything else, trying to fit in and trying to prove to you that I was worthy so you would hire me on that show. So I masked it. I wouldn't let you see all the stuff that was underneath. And I did it for so long, I didn't know I was doing it. It's not that I consciously said, I'm going to put on this mask today so I can show up for these people so they'll think good of me and I can do this thing. It was just a habit. What show do I have to put on? It was just a habit. Now it's different. All that is gone. Think of Kiss, Unmasked. I'm unmasked now, and it's very freeing. The armor is gone. We say we have this weight on our shoulders just because we do. It's this invisible armor that we have on us, which we are covering ourselves up with to protect us from the rest of the world. When we take that armor off, life is lighter. But most importantly, what do we all want? We want freedom. Right? Even I coach people. So what do you want? Well, I want $10 million. Okay, well, money doesn't do anything in and of itself. So why do you want $10 million? Well, I want freedom. Oh, freedom. Okay, great. Let's start with freedom. Live freedom, you'll get your $10 million. By the way, money is just an amplifier. If you're miserable now, you get a lot of money, you'll be more miserable. Not that you can't then do this work and change it, right? You can start this work at any time. But if you're loving life right now and you get $1 million, you'll love life more. Money is simply an amplifier to what's going on right now. So you can wait until you have a lot of money when you're more miserable, and then you have to do more work because it's deeper, or you can just start it now, right? Start the work now. Wherever you are, start it now. I don't know where I was on that, but
I don't know, but it's good.
Start the work now.
No, you were talking about you unmasked. So
freedom. That's what it's about. Freedom. That's what we all want is freedom. This practice gives you freedom. And that's the ultimate success.
Okay. So, Jonathan, I think our audience is really going to like this. I'm super grateful for this. And it's so interesting. It's sort of happening right now with the eclipse and all of the things that are happening on the planet and kind of in the ethos. So I'm very aware of like the solar flares and all that kind of thing, energetically speaking.
Sorry about that.
No,
I've officially muted it.
That was beautiful. That was perfect. How do people get in touch with you? Do you coach worldwide? How do you operate these days?
We have an amazing group that gets together every week, and it is so powerful. And I invite you to join our self-love coaching and mastermind group. It's so affordable too, because I really decided to make this affordable to anybody and everybody. I also do one-on-one coaching. If you want to go deep and you want that personalized work, we can do that together. I don't take many one-on-one clients at one time.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I started the group work, so I could help more people. But if you reach out and we're the right fit, we can do some one-on-one work together. And man, it is just so powerful. And if you want to be a part of a group of like-minded people, you're not alone. And these are people who are entrepreneurs creating companies. These are people who have lived through some trauma in their lives. Not all of them, some. These are people who have had what I call paper success, kind of like me, that in my life. It was if you looked at me on paper, I was really successful, but inside I wasn't. And we're just taking this journey together and learning and growing. And we do coaching there. So you get coached, they get coached. We call it drive-by coaching, right? Someone else, you're watching someone else get coached. But because we all have a lot of similar stories in our head about self-worth and what success means, it benefits all of us. So I would invite all of you to come and join us.
And so how do we do that?
You can find me at the selfloverevolution.com. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook and all the usual places. Reach out to me or go to selfloverevolution.com and hit that button that says join the revolution. Mm-hmm. And then, you can always reply to that email that you get. It's easy to find. If you Google me, you'll get an email and a phone number eventually. I'm not a secret. So go to selfloverevolution.com, reach out to me, and let's journey together.
Thank you so much. This was very eye-opening and enlightening for me. I consider myself to be someone who's been on this path for a long time. And you said a lot of things that I'd never considered ever. Such as, what was it? There was something really powerful you said during the self-forgiveness. Oh, forgiving yourself and others, and then wishing them no harm. That adding that piece is so powerful, just energetically, karmically, verbally. I think that's probably one of the most amazing self-love mantras I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, and between you and me, that line was not in my first version of it. And I noticed what was happening, and I added that one line because we spend so much time wishing other people pain. And of course, many of us have heard that analogy. It's like throwing a hot coal at somebody, but before you throw it at them, you have to hold it and you burn your hand while you're trying to hurt them. So yeah, thank you for saying that. I think it's really important that even those who have wronged us, that we stop trying to have them feel the pain, and not because they don't deserve it. They might, because we don't deserve to relive that pain. And by freeing them from our wanting them to have pain, not freeing them from pain, but not wanting to have pain, we free ourselves from experiencing it. And believe me, Lexi, I was right there with you. I had done so much work. I was already coaching people. I had been coaching people for years, and they were having great success. And that's when I tried all this saying I love you and couldn't do it. I'm like, oh my God, there is so much further to go. Like, I thought I had figured it out. Like, I really thought I had figured it out. And okay, this is a true story, Diana. So I don't know if you were ever at my place, but I was I live close to Keith on the other side of Santa Monica, and I'm walking on 3rd Street. Either is probably from the beach back to my place. So I'm between Santa Monica, I'm between Montana and then whatever was south of Montana, right? Because I live between those 2 blocks. I live just south of Montana. And I'm walking, and I'm about 3 apartments from mine. And all of a sudden, this thought goes into my head. And it says, there's no end to this work. Because I thought you do this work, and it's like anything else. You learn it, and then you have it figured out, and then you're good to go. Right? You learn how to produce a TV show. You can produce any TV show, right? Someone says, go produce this TV show. You can produce any TV show, right? I mean, I can produce any TV show. Sure. Give me the team and stuff. But yeah, you tell me what you want. I can get a script writer. I can get the camera people. Fine. So I thought it was like that. I'm going to learn the skills, and then I'll have it figured out how to live this great life. And then, because you keep learning and 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 learning, and I go, oh my God, there's no end to this. It goes deeper and deeper and deeper. And I was in shock for like a few weeks with that thought before I accepted, okay, this is just a journey that goes on forever. Then I was okay, but it took me a while to become okay with that very thought.
That just means we make a lot more podcast shows.
I love it. I love it. And by the way, if you guys are doing any TV shows that you think would be cool with self-love, I am available. Because this stuff, because here's what I really believe. We preach this in our small-ish worlds, and it needs to become mass. It needs to be put in the mainstream. We're just too divisive today. It doesn't mean we have to agree with all those that think those stupid things that they think, right? Okay, the other side is wrong, but can we actually begin to have a conversation about it and understand that they're just as afraid as they're afraid of one thing, and I'm afraid of another thing. We're all just afraid. So yeah, I want to get this out back into the TV world. It'd be so amazing, and the education world.
Yes, we have discussed that as well about children and the importance of that, and just sort of feeling good and feeling connected with the earth as well. But but
don't let them shove it into this social emotional learning crap, which is like off to the side and sometimes an elective, and also gives the other side an excuse to put it down, right? The people that again are against it, it's like social emotional.
Sure.
It's simply science. When you're angry, when you're stressed, cortisol is flowing through your body, and here's why, and here's what it's doing. When you're happy, serotonin is flowing through your body. Here's why, here's what it's doing. Here's what kicks your dopamine, both positive and negative things hit your dopamine. My son can tell you the sun is made of helium and hydrogen. He doesn't know a thing about the body. He's 9. Like, why? I like space. But imagine if we taught this as much as we taught outer space.
Right.
Good life. Anyway, I'm ranting now.
Nope. We love it. We love it. That's the whole point.
We love it. Yeah. We'll talk to you offline.
So let's get this on some TV.
Some shows. Let's do it. We're in. Let's go.
We'll do it.
Get me on the Jimmy Kimmel show. I want to spout this stuff on Jimmy Kimmel.
Well, dude, you know how to get in touch with Jimmy Kimmel, so come on.
I don't know how to get in touch with Jimmy Kimmel anymore.
I know, right? I was yesterday. Well, we're going to wrap this up, Jonathan. I'm so happy for you. And I should say, in my own strange way, I'm really proud of you. The last time I saw you was at a party where you were just kind of jumping into this or moving into this. And I thought, how weird. He's really glowing and he looks happy. and
what's going on?
Yeah. And you said, well, gee, what if we were all like this? And I was like, huh. Is that possible? So I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm so grateful for
Oh,
both of
sorry.
you. This has been really fun.